there's an event that is coming up at the Keswick Theater, and one of our most favoritist persons in the world is going to be a part of it, and that would be Kate Flannery, of course. And then our second most favoritist person is joining us right now via Zoom. Please give some love. The star of A Swingin' Little Christmas Live, Jane Lynch is joining us. Hi, Jane.
Good morning. Hi, everybody.
Nice to see you. Thanks for coming on the program. And you and Kate, well, so we know Kate intimately, in case you did not know that. I mean, like on a sexual, intimate level.
She knows a lot of people.
I know.
She does. Yeah. She's very generous with that.
But
yeah, she is.
You and her have been partnered up for what? A couple decades now? How long have you guys
been? Decades, yeah. We met in Chicago. We were both doing Second City, and we did the Real Live Brady Bunch, which was actual episodes on stage. And we just kind of gravitated toward each other because we love the same music. We love to harmonize, and it's music nobody else liked. It's like the late 50s, early 60s stuff. And our dads are basically the same person. Irish Catholic guy who was in World War II, solid, funny, good voice. So we had a lot in common. And we've been friends, really good friends ever since. So a long time.
I've heard you talk about this with Kate, and I can see it because I think Preston and I have it as well. There is a shorthand that you get when you work with someone, and it's just so comforting to have it there. And you guys, being the best of friends, but having that unspoken rhythm has got to be fantastic when you're doing a live, would you call it a cabaret show like this?
Yeah, sure. We call it a cabaret show. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we are breathing rarefied air, and we know it, and we're so grateful for it. Before we go out on stage, every time we just kind of look at each other and go, can you believe this? Because we have these great guys, the 5-piece band, Tony Guerrero Quintet. They're amazing, and they're the nicest guys. And the whole thing has this late 50s, early 60s vibe that we all love, and we all love Christmas. So it's one of those things to find, your Christmas tribe, and that's what we are.
I could not agree more. I am a sucker for every facet of Christmas, right from Hallmark to the cheesiest.
Yep.
I love this style show. I love the Rosemary Clooney, sort of Tony Bennett. And yet, I've heard you mention it's got the jazzier side, maybe a little Dave Brubeck, Vince Guaraldi sort of vibe.
Right.
Oh, that's the best.
We've got it all because Tony Guerrero's a genius, and so is Kate Flannery. She actually arranged her own King Wenceslas, and it's very yeah. So she did it herself. She's pretty wonderful. We also have Tim Davis, who shares in the shorthand. Tim was the vocal arranger on Glee, and he's one of the nicest guys in the world. He looks great in a tux. We objectify him through the entire show.
Great.
But he has a voice like Tony Bennett, like Frank Sinatra, like Perry Como. And we do 3-part harmony, very tight, that he arranged for us. So it's just a love fest up there, and the audience can feel it, and they're a part of it.
You've got to do stuff like this. You have to absorb it. I mean, I am sad if I have not invested enough time in absorbing Christmas. My decorations go up early. And people say, "Oh, isn't this kind of early?" No. You have to wring that sponge out with everything.
Oh, I completely agree. You are absolutely right. And we do too. And I bring the stuff that I grew up with back in the 60s. The same album that we used to get at the Firestone Company. They would give it away for free. And it was a compilation of popular singers and choirs. And I still live to hear, and my brother and sister too, we still live to hear those albums and that particular music.
Love it.
Jane, before you got into improv and comedy and that world, were you in choirs? Were you in vocal groups or in a band or anything like that?
Yeah, I did choir in high school, and I always loved singing. Anytime I did sketch comedy, I always found a way to put a song in there. And Kate, when I met Kate in the late 80s, we would always find a way to do a song in there. And, I did that movie, A Mighty Wind, the Christopher Guest movie. And that was really crunchy part singing. And I love part singing. And we get together once a year, all of us from those movies. And when we'll sing some stuff, we got a couple of guys who play the guitars and we do part singing. So yeah, I still love it.
Well, you know what? Speaking of A Mighty Wind, John Michael Higgins, we had him on years ago, and he had written those songs, right?
Yep. He arranged them all. Yeah, he did it.
Those
was
were
him.
Complex vocal harmonies.
Oh my God, they were so challenging. But once we got them, you couldn't stop us. We were always singing them.
So does that mean, do you ever break out potatoes in the paddy wagon on stage?
Absolutely. We do that for sure.
Love it. Love it.
It's so cool. It was great reading about you, and you mentioned your dad, and then you and Kate basically have mirror families. But your parents really did embrace theater. It seems to be that, and they were putting on theater productions when you were in like elementary school, correct?
Oh yeah, at church at St. Jude's the Apostle. We grew up at St. Mary's, and that's where the Pope is from, on the south side of Chicago. Pope Bob. But St. Jude is where my parents did this thing called portico, and every classroom in the school was a different port of call. And you do like a 30-minute show, and then the audience would go into the hall. They ring the bell like it's the end of class. The audience would go into the hall and go to the next classroom and see another port of call.
Wow.
So, I mean, there were like over 100 performers at our little church. And it was, I remember, I literally was beside myself in joy, going, oh my God, I love this. I want to do this for my life. I just adored it.
That's great.
Kate, this is a really unfair question, but I'm going to ask it anyway because you've worked with incredible people over the years. If you had to, if you were forced to, could you rank in order of coolness Harrison Ford, Steve Martin, Martin Short?
Oh, Harrison Ford is the coolest.
Yeah.
He's the coolest. He's slick. He's kind of one of he's like a quiet man in the form of the John Wayne, the late, the male stars in like the 50s and 60s. That's Harrison Ford. Steve and Marty are very lovely guys, but they're available. They're kind of right there, bright-eyed.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that ranking does make sense. I have to ask you, with Christopher Guest, and would you consider Best in Show your breakout, the one that kind of put you on the map?
Yeah, I think so. I think I would. I would go so far as to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I understand that people talk about it, people who excel at improv, even those who are adroit at improv, talk about there's a certain way that Christopher Guest does it that makes it more taxing and more thrilling at the same time. Is that correct?
Absolutely. It is, yes. Because what Chris does is he runs the camera. When you do Second City and Groundlings and stuff, it's kind of joke after joke after joke. He doesn't want that. He doesn't want that obvious joke after joke after joke. He wants you to live and behave. And so the camera is rolling and you can hear the whir of the camera and you kind of do what you think you should do for that scene and you're ready to hear cut and you don't.
Wow.
And then, oh God. And that forces you kind of just to drop whatever you had planned in your mind that maybe you were going to do this or that. And that's kind of where all the good stuff comes out. And he just lets it go. He doesn't, like I said, he doesn't care about the joke. He just wants you to behave.
That makes sense because there's so many. Those movies are so rich. And specifically, we quote you all the time and your exchanges with Jennifer Coolidge in Best in Show about soup and things of that nature. Yeah. And I assume those are what you're talking about, those moments where you haven't heard cut and you're just padding it and throwing stuff on, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And you do get used to it. It like the Best in Show, I kind of was able to get used to. So by the time we went to Mighty Wind, I wasn't as, anxious about it. But for the first one, it is kind of anxiety provoking. But yeah, you start to trust it because he's the guy who puts it together.
Yeah.
He takes all of that footage. And sometimes he's in the editing room, like waiting for Guffman, which I wasn't in, but it took him a year to edit that. A year.
Yeah. Wow.
So, because he had all this material.
I had the chance to go to Second City for the first time a couple of years ago, and I had hesitated on going initially, Jane, because I thought it had turned into maybe like a tourism thing, and it's kind of it's what you do. It's in Chicago. No, it was incredibly. I laughed so hard and was so impressed with what the cast can do. It's incredible. And with that, I'm curious as to, is that part of the training ground of learning to not laugh at something when it's hysterical as the person that is doing the improv? Because there are times when there's somebody that you're counter with and they're throwing some hilarious stuff. And I'm talking about during the improv parts of it, where you, even though it's a scream, you're not, because of the character you're playing, you shouldn't laugh at it.
Oh, no. You don't, and you don't want to ruin the reality of it, but every once in a while it happens.
You lose
like,
it.
Tim Conway and Harvey Korman made, a milk that baby for all it's worth.
Yes. Yeah. That was the whole thing.
So, yeah. And so when it becomes like a shtick where I'm cracking up, I was in a scene once, and I won't say where or with who, but a guy every night cracked up on purpose because he got great laugh.
No, that's cheesy. You can't do that.
You can't do that. Yeah.
Lorne Michaels is legendary for really not liking people breaking during skits for the exact reason you said. You know, it has to. It's a cheap laugh. Sometimes it's a legitimate great laugh, but it's also
it should be rare.
It should be rare.
Are there improv elements of A Swingin' Little Christmas, or is this a straight ahead show that you guys all have planned out?
We have, we basically planned out our beats. This is our 10th year of doing it. So it's very, very set. But what's great about that is that no matter what we set the show to be, Kate is a live wire, as you know. She's like a hummingbird. And sometimes I have no idea where she's going to go. And that's, and I just follow. So there's always an element of something being different because of Kate Flannery. If it were up to me, it'd be every breath would be the same because I don't want to think about it anymore.
Now, Kate had been telling us for years, Jane, that you guys had the lampshades, which was your project. Is this an offshoot?
That was Kate and Scott Robinson did the lampshades.
I thought you were involved in that.
No. I was in the audience applauding. But that was Scott Robinson.
Okay.
And they were lounge singers, and they were just hilarious. And I hope they'll do it again. But Scott has moved, and he's an amazing performer too. Yeah, they were fantastic.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you because you've done. I think you mentioned you've done Funny Girl and you've been on Broadway. You've done musicals.
Mm-hmm.
Is that as a performer, because you've done movies and television and so on and so forth? As a performer in your line of work, is that the most grueling schedule to have?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. No question. It's 8 shows a week, and you're singing at the top of your voice. And if you're a dancer, you're moving at the top of the limitation of your body, and it's repetitive. So when you're doing repetitive, the instrument can suffer.
Yeah,
you have to shake it up a little bit, but that's the job, is that you repeat it eight days. So that's why mostly young people do it. It's my favorite thing in the world. It's my favorite thing in the world to do. I've never had like the big part where you're where you're not talking during the day. You're saving yourself for those 2 hours at night. But I totally get it. And I've had like supporting parts, and even with my supporting parts, I mean, you live for those 2 hours. You just make sure that you're relaxed and that you're not taxing your voice during the day. And it's wonderful. It's so gratifying.
Jane, I wanted to ask about Big Brother and hosting that show. And is that the first?
Big Brother?
No, not Big Brother.
Jesus Christ.
Weakest
link.
Come on, man. Weakest link. Big sister.
Weakest link.
Weakest link. I'm sorry, but I don't know where the hell I got that.
That's okay, man.
Yeah, but anyhow, hosting that and being in the role of game show host, is that a learned skill set, or did you just jump in and give it a shot?
It's a learned skill set, but I kind of knew what the gig was because I watched game shows as a kid growing up. Hollywood Squares, Baffle.
Yeah.
Match Game was my favorite with the drunk celebrities. I ended up working with drunk celebrities on Hollywood Game Night, but Hollywood Game Night was a great kind of like boot camp for learning how to do it because you've got celebrities who are drinking and 5 different games every episode. So it was every episode was like, here we go. So Weakest Link is so easy. It's such a walk in the park, and it's such a delight. And we're doing it with celebrities now, but they're not drunk. So it's really, I absolutely love it. But it was a bit of a, the first thing I learned is that no matter how I'm feeling inside, I got to contain it. Because what can happen to me is when I get excited, my voice goes up, and it's an annoying range of my voice. So I learned to keep my voice here. Well, it doesn't go past.
Okay.
You're speaking absolute truth, because listen, we have seen other celebrities step into the hosting position on a game show, and the inability to reel it in. The host can't be the focus of the show. Has to be the conveyor of everything, the orchestrator, and then provide those elements that make it work. And you're doing a phenomenal job on that. It's clear that you love game shows and appreciate that. Mm-hmm. What game show would you, in a perfect scenario, love to host?
Oh gosh, well, Match Game, and I'd love to go back in time and host it with Brett Summers, Charles Nelson Riley, and Richard Dawson.
Oh my God!
And Nipsey Russell.
They run those all the time. What is it? Is it one of the game
and
shows?
Nipsey Russell.
Yep.
Yeah, all of those. Yeah. And they still hold up. And Gene Rayburn actually was really good at it.
Yeah.
He was fantastic because he was funny, but he knew what the gig was.
Yeah.
He knew that it was supporting. You could tell they all loved each other. You could tell they had a blast. I think they shot like 4 or 5 a day.
Wow.
So by the end, probably the last episode they shoot, because it's a half-hour show, they were probably loaded. But our show, both of them, Hollywood Game Night and Weakest Link, are an hour. So we do 2 a day.
Oh, okay.
Jane, you're in a movie that I loved. It kind of flew under the radar, but lately I've seen it crop up a lot on Instagram, and it's Role Models, and it's Paul Rudd and Sean William Scott and Christopher Mintz-Plasse was in it. And sometimes it takes a while for these movies to breathe, and then they resurface later on. Do you have any other examples? Because I thought Role Models was hilarious. Are there movies that you loved that just never quite found an audience that you wish that they had?
Yeah, there's a movie called I Do and I Don't.
Mm-hmm.
And we shot it in Baltimore probably about 2005. Do you know who Brian Callen is, the comic?
Oh, he's a friend of the show.
Good friend of ours, yeah.
One of my favorite people in the world. And he's also one of the smartest guys I've ever met. He actually schooled me while we were working. I learned about agriculture. I learned about history. Wow. I mean, he's so smart. But I play, and I forget the guy who was my husband, but we're what do you call that thing when you're Catholic and you're getting married and you
pre-Cana.
Pre-Cana.
Yeah.
We're pre-Cana instructors, and he's getting married, and they come to us, and we insane and drug-addled, and we kind of take them hostage in our house, and it's really funny. It's called I Do and I Don't.
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I hear that title, I Do and I Don't, I immediately think of Best in Show, because that was Christopher's response to you when she's like, you probably already know that. Well, I do and I don't.
Yeah, I said, you probably know who I am. He says, well, I do and I don't.
It's so funny, Jane, how in those films, little throwaway lines like that become a part of the lexicon. And there are so many of them through a majority of those movies. They just become part of your standard speech. You have to be proud of stuff like that, I would imagine.
Yes, absolutely. To be in a movie that stands up, it's 25 years now, Best in Show.
Crazy.
And we met at the Tribeca Film Festival. We did a panel and they did a screening, and the audience was just insane for it. And it's watching it going, man, this is good. This is still very, very funny.
You have that incredible ability. You take 40-year-old Virgin, and you've got a roster of top-level talent. And your scenes are just pop. We quote them all the time as well. So when you're in a collective like that, a sandbox with that kind of talent, I assume it just ups everyone's game.
It does. It absolutely does. There's nothing better. There was a period of like 2005 to about 2011, 2012, where there were these comedy ensemble movies that would be headlined by like Will Ferrell or Steve Carell or Paul Rudd. And it was kind of an unofficial comedy ensemble. And no matter who was up at the top, I remember them saying, best joke wins, best joke wins. And it was great. It was they were really fun.
I think we're due for another era like that. It's you know what I mean?
I do too.
It gets cyclical. It comes around every now and then, and I think we're due.
And we can use the same people like Jane, because they're the best.
Most definitely.
Let's do it. Yeah, we don't need to bring anybody up. Let's do it with all us old folks.
Well, Jane, we're going to point people in the direction of the Keswick Theater, December 2nd, a Swing a Little Christmas live in concert.
Good.
And Tim Davis and the Tony Guerrero Quintet will be there too. But of course, our dear friend Kate Flannery. I'm so happy you guys are doing this, Jane. So enjoy your time in Philadelphia, and hopefully we'll see you in person sometime here when you get
I would love that.
Love it. All right. Thank you so much, Jane. Good to talk to you.
Thanks, guys.
Jane Lynch, everyone.